Who has started hot and who has not? Welcome back, guys. NRL Fantasy Power Rankings. Something different. We'll be going through position by position, talking about the top 5 averages at each spot. Only currently active players and only players who have played 3+ games are allowed in. Now, first up here in the hooker spot, we've got Connor Watson. He's averaged 60 points so far. But Monty, do you think he can keep this up?
100% again. That's a 60 average with a HOA game as well, which is just insane to think about. But he's had a real hot start. If he's playing hooker on the field, he can go to lock with ease. He's just one of those players who you just need on the field to perform well. And I 100% believe I don't see him slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, he's absolutely on fire. I'm with you there. So important to the Roosters' success. You could talk about Zach Docker-Clay stealing a few minutes here and there, but I think the average will stay above 70 minutes. So I think he'll keep this up. By the way, guys, this video is brought to you by Gameday Squad as well. They're our proud sponsor for this one. And I've actually got the Gameday Squad scoring included here too. Now, if you do want to try out Gameday Squad, I'll be talking about it a bit during this video, but it's gamedaysquad.com.au in the description. If you use the code TCA, you get a bunch of free packs where you can really upgrade your squad there too. So the Gameday Squad scoring is a little bit different. Rewards more attacking stats. So we can see here for Connor Watson's a 62.5 instead of a 60. Now, going through the rest of this list here, we've got Egan, Plath, Brayley, and Starling. Egan started off super hot. He's been in great form. Plath is an interesting one to pop up here. Has a couple of tries in 4 weeks. Brayley, mainly defensive work rate, which is why his score is lower in game day. They reward more that attacking stat style. And then Tom Starling, behind Brayley in fantasy, but ahead on game day. So I look at this list and I think, you know what? They're probably, Starling, Egan might cool off a bit. But Brayley, I expect, I think he has another gear to go to. How do you feel about this group?
Yeah, they're all of them around this very similar kind of level. Wade Egan's kind of shot the lights out to start the season, which is very unexpected. But yeah, Plath, Brayley, and Starling, I reckon they will all sit around that high 40s, mid 40s average kind of thing. But maybe Plath with this lock roll, because we've seen him Plath start on an edge and finish in that lock roll. Maybe there's a bit of an uptick there. But as of right now, I just don't see them taking it to that next level.
Yeah, I can see that. And then Harry Grant's obviously not on this list. I would expect him to move up into it. Ideally 55 plus, but
Yeah.
he really should be 50 plus. So hopefully he can get back to the top 3 spot. Another guy I'll talk about at the end when we talk about Bounceback candidates is Damien Cook as well. So I'll leave that to the end, but this is a group who is interesting. Going through the middle forwards, I have to brag about this one, guys. I pulled the legend Mark Nichols card on Gameday Squad. So that's one of one. There's only one of them that exists. And, I got to go with my bald beard man, Mark Nichols. So stoked about that. Unfortunately, he does not appear in the middle forward rankings. So for the middle forward spot, we got Payne Haas with 84 average, Terrell May, 76, Connor Watson with the 60. He appears again. Cam McInnes, 58, and then Lindsay Smith in 56 points there in 5th place. So we'll start at the top here with Payne Haas, and that Payne Haas Terrell May battle in particular is very noteworthy right now. Those two will be battling it out on the weekend, and you can see a pretty clear gap here, about 9 points in fantasy. That jumps out to about 13 points in Gameday Squad, which rewards attacking stats more. So I look at this too, and I really do think that Payne Haas will have the ascendancy through this season. The one area that I think might count against Haas is the guarantee that he plays Origin and plays big minutes. And the potential, there have been a few niggling injuries over his career. Hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But he's had a bit more of that, whereas Terrell May is a bit newer in his career and hasn't really shown any sign of injury at all. So I think as the year goes on, Terrell May might be the more valuable player to own across the full season. But right now, Payne Haas is number 1.
Oh, he is. And as what you said, it's Haas, Terrell May, and Daylight in 3rd place. So it's going to be them two all year round. And Haas has the pedigree. He's done it before, and he's done it to a really high level. And then with May, he hasn't scored anything less than a 70 in fantasy, which is unreal. But then again, his minutes are a concern. But if he can play that high 60s minute role, he's definitely up there with Haas.
He's a monster, man. I will say too, he nearly scored that try on the weekend. That would have bumped him right up. Mate, their averages could have been, 5 points apart, 4 points apart. Like, it could have been much closer than this. So yeah, once he grabs that try, it's just, I look at the matchup on the weekend. They go, right, Broncos v Tigers. Tigers are carrying a few injuries into this one. No Luai, no Skelton. He starts their sets off really well. Finer with a bit of a niggle. I think the Broncos get on top, and I think Payne Haas is a big beneficiary of that. And Terrell May is going to match him. He's going to have to score make 60 tackles in this one to keep up.
Yeah, especially at Suncorp as well. It's going to be, and I'm not sure what the weather's looking like, but on Saturday it is meant to be a dry track, and that just could mean offloads galore for Haas.
Yeah, see that locks it in for me. He's my captain this week, and I'll be using as high a tier card of him as I can on game day as well. Now, going down the list here, we talked about Connor Watson already. He is purely a middle forward on game day, so worth noting that they only do one position, and they're usually a bit more accurate than fantasy on that. Then McInnes and Lindsay Smith. For McInnes, he's had a pretty good start to the year, but that big 75-minute game last week is the one that really bumped him up. Do you see any world where that continues, or like I'm putting you on the spot here, but could he maintain 70+ minutes, or do you think they go back to normal?
To be honest, I don't think so. McInnes is one of those players, he can have 3 or 4 weeks where he plays 50, 55 minutes and then can come out and play 70, 75 minutes. So you just don't know. I think this week can go back to that 50, 60-minute role, but I think that 70s is once every 5 or 6 weeks kind of thing. So just you can't trust that.
Yeah, I agree. Last year they had some periods of time where they were missing heaps of players too, and they kept him down at that 60-minute role. So it's not even an injury situation. It's just they want him in that role. But he could easily play 80. Like he could truck out and play 80. So if you're a believer, I don't hate the idea, and he's pretty cheap as well. Like if you're looking at Gameday Squad trades, he's pretty affordable because people are just targeting those other big middles. So you can get him pretty cheap on there. Then Lindsay Smith, pure work rate for this guy, right?
Yeah.
He's been killing it. What's your thoughts on Lindsay?
I love him. I love the look of Lindsay Smith. He's one of those players that's kind of enjoyable to watch because he's always making tackles. He's always running the ball. And I love watching him. He's a typical Panthers player, I've noticed. They love that kind of Isaiah kind of build. And yeah, Lindsay Smith, he's shot the lights out at the start of the season. And I kind of think he can keep going. I reckon he can. If his minutes are similar to McInnes, can play 70 or 60. But it's clear that when the Panthers are in a tight game, they want Isaiah, they want Lindsay Smith on. So I don't mind Lindsay Smith.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's been pretty hot, but I worry a bit about Liam Henry. So he's regressed a bit this year, carried an injury into the year. I think he will rise back up to decent minutes. And Papali, he hasn't really found his spot either. So Lindsay Smith, I think he's got a few more weeks of being really good, but I think he will regress back down to maybe a 50 average, a bit similar to that sort of Fisher-Harris scoring profile instead of what he's been doing so far. So that's my worry there in terms of team role. The other thing is he might be in the picture for some sort of representative duties as well. So if you target someone like that, they have the buy in round 11, he'll be out in round 12. It's not a guarantee that he does, but he's definitely in the picture for that too. So middle forwards, a lot of options right now. Jumping through to second row forward, this is a bit more of an open field and some real surprise packets here. So the averages float between 60 and 56.3, which is very high. I've got to say, this group will slide down, I think, in average. Like, it's very rare that you get guys averaging 60 points across the full season. So we'll start with Bo Firma because he's available at center as well in fantasy. Is he going to maintain an average of 55 this year? Like, I think 60 is a bit far-fetched, but 55, is that possible?
I reckon it is. And just like looking at this list, I reckon him and Preston will probably be the ones that can stay here.
Yep.
But we know what Firma's like. He's a gun edge, and even when he gets put at center, he can still score really well.
Oh,
yeah. So I reckon, that mid-50s is 100% attainable.
Yeah, big attacking stats on offer for him too. Like he's a great footballer, but again, plays Origin, so keep that in mind. Through that period, he's not going to be as useful. Preston's interesting as well. He played on a different edge last week, grabbed a few more attacking stats. I'm not super fussed about that. I like his work rate. I think he's a guy who he plays well. The Dogs play well, right? And he's a central part of their attack. So Preston's a guy I want to own stakes in. And last week on game day, I started him and Gus Crichton next to each other, and it worked beautifully. Awesome. I'm probably thinking of doing the same thing this week because he's just unstoppable, and you can see his score. It's a 60 average on game day. Attacking stats, man. You can grab a try. So yeah, I like the work rate, the base there, but I also like the attacking upside. May Nicholson, Nafahu White, and Hudson Young. I might just jump down. I'll leave Hudson Young to the end. Nicholson and White, which one do you think scores more over the next fortnight?
Over the next fortnight, I'd probably. That's really tough, actually.
Yeah,
I'll probably lean to
curveballs, man.
Plenty of them. I'll probably lean towards Nicholson just because he has that attacking upside. We saw in his first game he scored 2 tries, and playing outside Fogarty.
Yep.
I mean, and they got the Sharks this week, and they've been a bit leaky over the past couple of weeks. So I'd probably Nicholson just based off his attacking upside.
Yeah, I can see that. He had a few runs last week as well where he was very close to
Yeah.
scoring tries. So, yeah, Nicholson definitely has that potential. But Nafahu White has been unbelievable this year. Like, I think a few people in the comments have sort of not fully understood what I'm saying about him. I'm
Yeah.
saying it's a bit too late to buy him in fantasy. It's probably not too late. If you believe in him in game day, you can get him really cheap. But I look at Nafahu White and he's been awesome this year. Like, he's taken a massive step up. He's playing much better footy than last year. He's the genuine leader prop in that forward pack. There is still Lindsay Collins, who's been carrying injuries and could revert back to that role. And you've also got, Nat Butcher coming back into the lock spot, Radley back next week. Lenu's back and playing inconsistent minutes. Like, he had a really good game a couple of weeks ago. Then he scored 14 in fantasy last week. It's just a tough one to predict. And I think White will regress back to that 50-minute role. So as much as he's playing awesome footy in real life, I don't see him averaging 50 plus. I see that sort of dropping down from the 56.5 to a 49 or a 48. I think there's going to be a lot of 40, 42, 43 scores in that run. So for me, he's a guy who you shouldn't be buying right now. But if you started the year with him, you are absolutely killer and you have crushed it.
Oh, 100%. And yeah, as what you said, he just it's just a matter of whether you think he can keep the spot. That's the thing. Like he shot the lights out to start the year. And yeah, obviously Collins, they got plenty of troops coming back over the next couple of weeks. So he can still play the minutes, but yeah, I just see him just below that 50. But for over the next 2 weeks, there's no reason why he can't still pump out the 56 scores.
Yeah, look, we're talking fantasy, we're talking game day. I'm going to talk about a Supercoach draft I'm in. I took Nafahu White very late in that draft, like extremely late, next to Payne Haas, who I got in the 3rd round. So that front row has been unbelievable. And Nafahu White was like the 16th round or something. It was absolutely crazy. So everyone just thought he was a rental. I sort of bought in a bit more. But yeah, May Nicholson, he's got a role that I think will expire as well. It won't be 80 minutes when Hosking's back. He might still start, but not 80 minutes. And Hudson Young, he's the one guy that is guaranteed his spot in that forward pack, I guess next to Tarpanay as well. But yeah, Huddy Young, he's a guy who has that potential to be the top scorer any given week. He had a bunch of weeks last year at the back end where he was pumping out 90-point games. So I don't know. He's one of those guys where if he gets cheap enough, I look at it. But the issue is he floats around the origin side as well. Like, you're paying a pretty high price for him. He's a bit of a pod, though. He doesn't really get talked about with the others. So I don't know. If I was looking at Preston, Hudson Young, Gus Crichton, I might go Hudson Young. Well, Preston's got that bye coming up.
Yeah.
Crichton's been good, but Crichton has a terrible schedule through the origin period. Hudson Young, if he doesn't make the team, could be an ace option.
Oh, 100%. Hudson Young, he has flown for the past couple of years as well.
Yeah.
He's been always up there, averaging really well. But yeah, he loves an attacking stat. He loves putting a grubber, and he's a bit of a try scorer as well. But then again, you do have people like Fafita, Crichton who are dropping. So it's just a matter of, do you stick with Hudson Young and ride the kind of hot form, or would you just go a bit cheaper and get that fall and gun?
Feeder's in the bounce back section at the end as well. So keen to tear into him. But for the halves here, this is a strange group, man. Like, I looked at this and I was like, what the hell is this? If you showed me this in the preseason, I would have puked a little bit. Like, it would have been like, what is going on here? So Humphreys at number 1, Jaden Campbell at number 2. We got Adam Reynolds at number 3, Fletcher Sharp. Unbelievable form, by the way. He's playing awesome footy. He's going to be the best half at Newcastle next year, despite what the contracts are like. And Nico Hines at number 5. And yes, by the way, before anyone commented, I am a salty Parramatta fan. That is very, very obvious. But for this group here, Humphreys is the first one we're going to talk about. And the big question is, can he maintain the reach? And is he a guy that you can expect to be one of the top scorers in fantasy this year? I worry a little bit about it because Latrell comes back. He may take the goal kicking. If Latrell goes back to fullback, he'll take some of the general play kicking as well. It just sort of caps off the upside a bit. And as a rookie, Humphreys hasn't dealt with a full season of NRL yet either. So that might start to wear him in a bit too. Like, it's just such a high average, 68.8. Like, you're fighting against it to argue he maintains that. But at the same time, I mean, is he going to be over or under 60 is probably the question. And I'm keen to hear your thoughts.
I see him just sitting at maybe that low 60s. I definitely think he's a key player to this Rabbitohs side. But yeah, Latrell Mitchell definitely could cap off his score a bit. Because we see Humphreys kicking that 600-meter per game kind of thing. And with Trell, I can see that maybe down to the 400s maybe. So that's a couple points there.
Yep.
But I definitely think Humphries is still. There's more that he can do. I reckon. I reckon we haven't seen all of him yet.
Oh yeah.
I reckon there's plenty more attacking upside to come for sure. But Humphries, yeah, just above that 60s, I'd say.
It's interesting because he'll be playing there, and like there'll be more focus on Latrell. Like things will open up. Cam Murray is a long way away, but they got Ewan Aitken back at some point too. He adds a bit to the attack. Like they got Campbell Graham back as well. Like it could open up a bit more, but the issue is those guys could also take over. So that's the concern there. I would say if I was picking and money wasn't a factor, and I was choosing between him and Nathan Cleary, that's a pretty hard one because Humphries is probably more durable.
Yeah.
I'd probably still say Nathan Cleary.
Yeah.
I'll throw it at you. Humphries or Nico Hines?
Oh,
Rest of season, cash is not a factor. You don't have to use a trade. Who do you want?
I'd probably go Humphries just due to his consistency.
Yep.
Where Nico Hines could have games where he scores 60, but then games where he scores 40.
Yeah.
But I feel like with Humphries, you're kind of safe. You kind of locked in that mid 50s, low 60s kind of score.
Yep.
So Humphries for me.
I agree with you there. Nico Hines, I was eyeing on him last week, and then he came out and ran like 43 meters. That worried me a bit because the week before he had 3 or 4 offloads and he had the 100+ meters. And I thought, yep, look, I don't mind if he's not kicking. If he's doing that, that's his base, right? That's the old Dylan Brown 2022.
Yeah.
Hines used to do it as well, but if he's not going to run the ball as much, it's a bit scary to own him. So I agree with you there. And then Adam Reynolds, Jaden Campbell, Fletcher Sharp. For Campbell, it's 2 tries in 3 games. So that helps a bit. But I do think that he has the attacking upside. And I do think as the year goes on, because the Titans are playing well, he's going to gel into that role more and more. 63.7 average in fantasy, 66.6 in game day. I could see him averaging just over 60 this year.
Yeah, same here. I reckon he's going to be one of the highest averaging players in his position, half or wing fullback this year. I just think, yeah, he's got the attacking upside and he just looks really good. Like he's super fun to watch. Watching that intercept, I was jumping out of my chair celebrating. It was awesome. But yeah, Campbell's one. He can just plot around that 60s with ease, I reckon. He's got all the in-play kicking. He goal kicks and he loves a good dummy and run.
Yeah, he's an absolute weapon. Happy to have him, and I think he's still a target for this week as well. Then Adam Reynolds here, 63 average so far. That bumped down a little bit. I think it was 67.5 last week. He scored about a 45. I just can't believe it. Like we've seen Adam Reynolds. We know who Adam Reynolds is. He's an awesome football player, but we've seen 10 years. And 10 years has told us 48 to 53 is his average. I tend to believe the history, and sometimes it does hurt me, but I tend to believe in regression to the mean. I think this is still true here with Adam Reynolds. He's not someone that I'd be targeting in a draft or in a classic team or in Gameday Squad. Like, I just think it's going to come back to normal. And I think we'll see Reece Walsh, Ben Hunt, these other guys sort of rise up and fill the vacuum.
Yeah, Reynolds has definitely taken the brunt of the attack to start the year. Broncos had an awesome start, and that obviously saw Reynolds score really well. And then with Reynolds, he's not usually fit for this long. So it's kind of like touch wood, he doesn't get injured. But yeah, I just feel like a massive regression coming. Like Reece Walsh has been very quiet to start the year, and I think he's going to take more of that, in play kind of attacking.
Agree with that. And then Fletcher Sharp, 61.7. This is the tricky one. And before we go into Fletcher Sharp, I will say Gameday Squad splits winger and fullback. So he's only available on the wing in Gameday Squad because he's a winger last year, right? That's interesting because then he's not going up against fullbacks or halves or anything like that. He's only going up against wingers. So he's almost a must start in game day. But in fantasy, he's much more within the pack. So 61.7 here, it's a 66 in game day. Does he maintain this power in his game? Because he throws himself at the game with such aggression. I worry about a full season of it. Like it's very physical the way he's playing. He's not a huge guy. So like the wrong hit, he might slow down a bit. Like, I don't know. I just can't. Either he nearly wins the Dally M this year, or he doesn't maintain this. And it's a hard bet for me to take because he is quite expensive as well.
I hope he plays well because I did pack him in one of the free packs we were given on game day.
Boom.
And if Fletcher Sharp is straight in my team, but yeah, it's one of those ones. He started the year off really strong, and he loves it. I think he's averaging 2 offloads a game.
Yep.
And that really helps. And the way the Knights are playing, it's a very attacking brand of footy. So he's always involved, and he's not doing any of the kicking, which is the one thing that's surprising me. And he's still averaging these numbers, which is insane. But yeah, as what you said, I reckon as the year goes on, they'll probably lose Ponga to Origin. Will that affect Sharp's scoring? Maybe, maybe not. But as of right now, I'm loving what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just 61. 61. And like I'm high on Sharp, right? But 61 is unheard of. It's Cameron Munster's best year, right?
Yeah.
So prime Cameron Munster. Like that's Cameron Munster's best fantasy year. That's what we're asking. Is he going to maintain Cameron Munster's best fantasy year? Or like Dylan Brown 2022 when he was one of the best 5'8s in the game, right? Like that running 5'8. I'm just trying to find archetypes. You know, Joey Manu averaged 58 at 5'8.
Yep.
You could maybe make the case that he's sort of playing that Joey Manu role, but Joey Manu's a big boy, like big boy. It's a very different sort of profile player. So this is the upper echelon is kind of what I'm getting at. Like I see him sort of floating more down to the mid 50s, which is still a massive win if you buy him and if you bought him. But 62, I think it's too much here. And then Nico Hines, the last one. Quick one for you. Does he rise from here or does he fall?
Nico Hines, where is he? 56. I would like to see him rise, but I just think I think he'll just plot around that at the moment. It's like, yeah, it's very tough to judge because, 1 week he's on, 1 week he's off. You just never know. But I could see maybe push up to that high 50s, 58s, 59s, but it's not overly excited about it.
Yep. I agree with that. I think he'll have some nuclear games, though. I back him to have a 100-plus game at some point.
Yeah.
I think it might be soon as well, but there are those lower games that you talked about too. Rolling through to center, we've got Braden Best, Bo Firma, Herbie Farmworth, Ruben Garrick, Val Holmes. And this is an interesting list here because some of these guys have upward potential as well as downward potential. But Braden Best first, averaging 60, grabbed a couple of tries in 3 games, right? So he's scoring tries, getting a lot of ball. Dylan Lucas is out. That doesn't really hurt him. It just means he gets a bit more ball, I think, on that edge. So with Braden Best, I think I talked about it in the preseason. I thought he could be potentially the best center in fantasy, and he's showing that. I wish I had him in my team. It just never works out, right? But yeah, I think he can maintain the rage here. I guess then it becomes a question of, Best versus Firma. Is there any part of you that's saying Best? Because everyone's sort of going the Firma route, aren't they?
Yeah, I've got to go the Firma route. Although Bradman Best does have the 100-plus upside. He's got that 90 and 100-plus score in his locker. But Firma's kind of that consistent, and he's got the dual position in fantasy, which just helps so much. But I'd probably lean Bo Firma just in this one. But then Bradman Best, if you're chasing upside, he is probably one of the best options in the game.
Oh, mate, he had a couple of weeks there last year. He went 99, 109. Like, it was absolutely nuclear. Then Herbie Farmworth, we know what he can do. Averaged 55 last year. Sort of lit it up from a certain point of the year as well, around 10, I think it was. He doesn't play Origin because he's a POM, right? So he's a guy you can lock into your team for the rest of the year. And like 60-point average here with 1 try in 4 games. Like, he's not really unlocking the attacking upside. Like, I just think that's crazy. And if the Dolphins start playing some decent footy, he'll be, maybe he'll be even better. Maybe he'll be worse. Maybe he's been carrying them. But I don't know how he's doing this. Like, he's a genuine center who's pumping out that massive average after a massive run last year. I guess you could say the same about Best too, because Best did average 57.5 from round 6 onwards in full games, right? So you take out the injury game. So Best and Farmworth, I think, are the 2 best pure centers in fantasy that are actually playing center.
Oh yeah, Herbie Farnworth. Like, I watched him last week against the Broncos, and he's not a center that stays out there, waits for the ball. He will run to the other side of the field and get the ball. And that's what you want to see with your centers. You want to see them chasing the ball, and like, you watch him, and he's one of those players you watch, and you're like, something could happen here. He could run sideways, break a couple of tackles, flick an offload away. He's just very exciting to watch. Yeah, Bradman and Herbie, they're easily probably almost, if you have them as your centers, you can kind of set and forget them. Like, they just, their low games are made up by their super high games. So it's just a matter of, do you pick one or do you pick both?
Yeah, that would be crazy. We've got so many cheap centers right now. It's a tough one. And then Garrick and Holmes, interesting ones. So they're both guys that I eye off when they get a bit cheaper, and they just sort of haven't gotten cheaper, right? So the difference between these two, really exclusively is that Garrick had a game with 4 tries. Like that's why the average is so different. But I view them as kind of the same guy. Like they're great attacking centers, a little bit streaky, do goal kicking, similar profile for me. If I was choosing between them, I'd choose the cheaper one. That's a pretty easy call for me.
Yeah, I'll probably lean to Garrick just because in that Manly side, when Manly's on, they're on, and Ruben Garrick and Manly's backline just go nuts.
Don't worry about Turbo being out though.
I still reckon they'll get the ball to Garrick and Saab when
Okay.
Manly, especially when Manly play at home. That's just my personal opinion as a Manly fan, by the way. I just like to add.
Yeah.
But
Holmes has Parramatta this week. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sensing a bit of a bet. Do we
I'm
do we wager on who scores better this round? Next month, maybe?
Next month, 100%.
Yeah.
But then Val Holmes, Val Holmes has arguably been one of the most consistent scoring centers in the last 5 years or something. Like you can just guarantee a good score from him. But then again, against Para, like he could bag a try. Tuipulotu could make it rain money with Val Holmes. But yeah, it's a tough one. I reckon they'll both average fairly similar throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, both hot options who can go nuclear at the right time. Then wing fullback, and then we'll go into the bounce back candidates next. Now, Jaden Campbell, we talked about him. He's the number 1 wing fullback in fantasy right now. Fletcher Sharp right there as well. Both of them get a bit of a boost on game day because of the attacking stats. By the way, guys, if you want to play game day, it's gamedaysquad.com.au. Use code TCA. You'll get emailed a bunch of codes for free packs. Bloody good game. And then set your team. You go to competitions and do that. Made some old videos on how to do it. But those two are there. Kalen Ponga, the first sort of pure wing fullback here that we can talk about. And it goes Garrick, who we talked about already as well, and then Tuipulotu. Now, Ponga is a much better scorer on game day with the attacking stats, but he's been scoring well in fantasy too, 57.7. If he maintained that average for the rest of the year, I think as a buyer, you'd be pretty happy. Like, really, let's not get too skewed early in the season. A 60-plus average for a wing fullback is almost unheard of. So 57.7 is the upper elite. And I think what Ponga's done so far is something he can maintain.
Yeah, so do I. And Ponga's the heart and soul of this Knights attack. Everything runs through him. And so, yeah, I can definitely see him staying in this high 50s, low 60s average for the rest of the year. He's got huge upside, similar to Bradman Best. But, yeah, Ponga's someone you can't really go wrong with.
Yeah, 100%. And Tuipulotu, 50.3 average, tale of 2 seasons in the season here, before the bye and after the bye. Yeah. Just scoring a bunch of tries early on. And look, he's a good attacking football player. If you got him at the start of the year, you'd be happy. I was saying last week, it's too late. Like, you can't do it now. Had a quieter game. The left edge was good. Holmes scored a try, but unfortunately didn't go to him. So Tuipulotu is one who, in fantasy, I have no interest in. But again, in game day squad, he's a pure winger. And you have to pick wingers in that spot. There's no fullbacks you can pick over there. So guys like Tuipulotu, Asako, these types of players who can score a bunch of tries, even Jason Saab, Xavier Coates. Like, I play with these guys in game day squad because they have that one game every now and then where they go nuclear. In Tuipulotu's case, it's 2. But red hot option over there.
Yeah, I agree. Similar to you, it's almost like you pick wingers who you think will score a try.
Yeah,
almost. That's kind of the mindset that I kind of have when I pick my team. So like I got Fletcher Sharp in there, and I probably will have Tuipulotu in there as well because they're versing the Parramatta Eels.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of that when it comes to picking your wingers, I guess.
I'm running Gutho over there too on the bench. Yeah, I've loaded up on Dragons players this week, maybe even Jaden, so I might sneak him in as well. Then bounce back candidates, and I just want to cover this here because this is something that is prevalent across fantasy and game day squad as well. I'll just make us a bit smaller here, but I'll throw to you first. Dave Fafita, is it a case of just you need to see him starting before you get interested in that?
Oh, 100%. And when I look at team list on the next couple of rounds and I see him in that back row spot, he's the first person I'm adding into my team. He's cheap, and we know what he can do. He's done it before. How about you?
Absolute machine. I want him bad. And I think, like, when we talk about game day squad, the trading is a big part of the game. Yeah. So you can actually trade players you've got. So I've got a couple of trade examples here. I went and bought Cam Murray after he got injured just because he was cheap. Sold the Gold Royce Hunt for Cam Murray there. And same with KO Weeks after that trial game where he lit it up. I thought, you know what? I don't see the base stats. So I'm going to buy on the hype here. Sold him for a bronze Latrell Mitchell as well. So you got to make those trades when guys are a bit cool. And Dave Fafita is one who's averaging 36 in fantasy, 33 in game day. If you can get him a bit cheaper now, awesome. The issue is most people kind of know what's going on with Dave Fafita, so they're not going to sell cheap. But it might be cheaper than when he finally gets a starting spot. So definitely a good target. Damien Cook's another one who's interesting. And look, 45.3, it's the lowest average we've seen from Damien Cook in a long, long time. What we saw last week that encouraged me, though, was 2 hookers on the field at once and that strategy winning them the game. So potentially he'd get back to some bigger minutes. I'm keen to know your thoughts here. Do you see it going back to 80 or do you think it'll still float around that sort of 60 mark? Like, what's your thought there?
I think it will still float around that 60, 70 mark, but that was kind of the one question at the start of the year. How will Little and Cook work together? And to start the year, you know, it's pretty disappointing. But then last week we saw them both on at the same time, and that's what you want to see.
Yep.
And they won as well. So hopefully, if we can see that happening for the next couple of weeks, then I reckon we can easily lock Cook into that 60, 70-minute role with Little coming on playing that 30, 40 minutes in lock, 100%.
Yeah, red hot option. He sort of needs 80 for fantasy. That's the issue there. Then Cleary, this is a hard one to buy because most people know what's going on. But to be fair, 19% of fantasy coaches sold him last week. So I don't know. I think maybe you can get him cheap. If you're in a draft league as well, like you might be able to get him cheaper than you could have previously. I'm thinking that this might be one to target. And you'll have to pay up, right? So you're gonna have to pay real sort of value for him. But he's one of the best players in fantasy and in game day. So if you can give away maybe the 5th or 6th best player for Cleary and upgrade your team, then I think he's a red hot option. And this Cowboys matchup is tantalizing this week.
Oh, it is. And with Cleary, the bounce back, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
We know he'll bounce back. He's due for a massive game. And Cowboys, it could happen. It could happen with Cleary. And I reckon Cleary knows he's let the Panthers down. He probably thinks. And I reckon he's going to come out red and roaring.
Mate, big game this week. Jimmy Tedesco, how do you feel about him for this year?
James Tedesco, I mean, he's kind of on my radar, floating on and off, but I'm probably going to look at getting him over that Origin period just because he probably won't be playing Origin, unfortunately. But James Tedesco, when the Roosters need him, they need him, but he kind of hasn't – he's yet to take it to that prime James Tedesco as we've seen in the past couple of years. So it's kind of one that I'm 50-50 on, but leaning towards just leaving him be for now.
Yeah, Jimmy Tedesco is the face of Gameday Squad as well. Yep. So he's the official player face of the game. So he has to go well.
Has to go well.
And look, the scoring's been skewed for him. It's 47 in fantasy, 54.4 in game day. So I start him in my game day team. But then Dylan Edwards is the last one here. And he's had that injury. His average is a bit lower than what you'd expect as well. Luai's gone, so he has to do a bit more playmaking. Like he's not goal kicking, right? So you take that out of the equation. But again, like we talk about Tedesco and Edwards as those potential Blues fullbacks. I feel like Edwards is due a bit of a bounce back, and I think Penrith will click. They won't finish the year, winning 25% of their games. Edwards, Cleary, all these guys will come together.
Yeah, I think Panthers are the last couple of years. Panthers have started really slow, and they come back and show why they've won all these comps in a row. But yeah, I think Edwards and Cleary are both just waiting for the right moment to kind of tell the world why we're the 4-time champs kind of thing. But yeah, Edwards is definitely. I can see him maybe crawling up to that maybe high 40s average, maybe creeping into their low 50s. But, yeah, I probably wouldn't go after him unless, there is another injury to Cleary. Touch wood, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I'm going to go and make some trades now. So these are the guys I'm targeting this week on Gameday Squad. I'll put some trades up. If you own those players on game day and you want to get rid of them, give them to me, please. But, guys, look, it is a really fun game as well. About $90,000 of prizes in Gameday Squad this year. So it's where you can make a bit of cash and awesome game. Gamedaysquad.com.au. Use the code TCA when you sign up. You get a bunch of free packs and you can get started. There are videos on my channel as well if you search for Gameday Squad where I go through how to play the game and all that sort of thing too. So hopefully you enjoyed the power rankings and hopefully you check out Gameday Squad. I'll see you guys in the next one.